Clobber Magazine, uh, and you can always tell when I'm going to do. I've got a guest. I give myself some eyebrows and put a bit of mazzy on. So I want to welcome Mr. Smith from Clobber Magazine. How you doing there, Mr.
I'm
Smith?
fine. I'm fine. How are you?
Good, thank you, thank you. So you haven't got a Scouse accent there, I can tell.
No.
So you're from Manchester.
Yeah.
Now you live in Liverpool, I believe, yeah?
Yeah.
So what's your biggest misconception that people have about both cities?
Um, I think they're both big red wall cities, aren't they? So the big Labour areas. And I think when I was a
Yeah.
kid, Scousers were either presented as rampant thieves or philosophical Freddie Boswell types. And
Where's
Manchester,
your dinner?
I know it's not good. And then there's Manchester. It had a big problem with gun crime for many years, and the area I grew up was particularly bad for it. And I think it was like the car theft capital at one time in the UK. So I think both cities had like quite negative associations, really, which I'm not true. Like anywhere else, there's problems and crime and stuff. But yeah, I think there's a lot of misconceptions around, the poverty-stricken aspects, and people down south thinking that we're all living in back streets with coal mines at the end of the road and steaming factories and all that with black caps and yeah, I was born in an area called Hume, which was next to the city centre. It was a housing development. They knocked down all the old slum housing in the 50s and built the Crescents and these other housing projects, which turned out to be an absolute disaster. It was one of the worst things that was ever built. And then after that, I moved to Moss Side and then Fallowfield. So I lived around all those three areas pretty much all my life until I moved out of the city. So yeah, it's tough upbringing. Um, how friendly people are, I think. I think because a lot of rivalries about football with Manchester and Liverpool, but unbeknownst to me prior to that, it was about the ship canal. When the Manchester ship canal was built, it took work away from the docks. So there was a lot of animosity about that. And then the football rivalry, particularly United Liverpool, was fiercely intense because of the success they both have. So I thought, coming here as a Mancunian, I was kind of going to get it. And it couldn't be any further from the truth. You know what I mean? You meet the odd idiot, I suppose. But I think people are really warm in Liverpool. I think they give you a chance. I think in Manchester, there's a bit more of air of aggression around people. I think there's certain reasons for that. But I think, yeah, Liverpool people are quite happy to give you a chance. Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, Manchester's like a bigger city. I think even the centrally, the centre of the city is bigger. And then so many years ago, they somehow decided they'd get a load of outlying mill towns and make it Greater Manchester. So it's a bigger city. But I think it has a lot, maybe more, maybe in infrastructure. I think they're like 10 or 20 years on in development and investment. But I think Liverpool has a slightly slower pace of life, which I quite like. I mean, it's still a fast paced urban environment, but I think it's people just seem to have that extra second or two time for you, which is quite important, I think. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the sort of Mancunian walk thing. I mean, and that is a true thing. You know what I mean? Working
Yeah.
class Mancunians do have a certain spring in the step, and there is a certain. I think the accent sounds a bit harsher as well. People always say about the Scouse accent, but it's actually quite
Mm,
softer. So, and like say in
yeah.
Liverpool, people pronounce the T's properly, so they go later. So in Manchester, it's later, and everything's a bit more. So
Yeah.
yeah, it could be sound a bit more aggressive, even when it's not meant to
Yeah.
be.
Just 1 minute. I'm just going to make sure that my Wi-Fi is on. Just 1 minute.
Okay.
So yeah, I get absolutely slated from your accent. A lot of people don't like the Scouse accent. They say, "Oh, as soon as I hear that woman, I always like switch off." But that's the way I talk, and that's it. But yeah, so I want to come on to your Clobber magazine. So you write a magazine called Clobber. So tell me a
Yeah.
little bit. What made you start that? How did that come to fruition?
Because of my love of clothes, really, Italian casual designer wear, which sort of, ironically enough, really all kicked off in Liverpool in the late 70s when Scousers were going to football games in Europe and coming back with Lacoste and Armani and brands that you weren't really seeing on the high street here. So I've been into that pretty much throughout my teenage years and then right into my adult life. So just that fascination with clothes and designers like Massimo Mosti and stuff. Because there's two types of world of fashion. There's people who innovate and people who create and people who make things which are groundbreaking. And then you've got there's the hairy fairy world of people walking around down his runway shows. You know, men dressed in a
Mhm.
50s A-line skirt with a big thing of flowers in his head, and it bears no resemblance to anything you can buy in the shops. So I was just got bored of reading things in these sort of
Yeah.
southern printed sort of hairy fairy magazines, and then I applied to do some work for a magazine in Manchester called Proper, and they were and ahhing and
I've
taking
heard
the
of
time
them,
to get
yeah.
back to me. And I just remember going, I'm just going to launch this website overnight, and then and from that, you know, I met loads of people throughout sort of the casual scene in the UK, and then even met Carlo Ravetti from Stone Island, the CEO. Went to one of their events, and
Very fab.
so that was fantastic as well. So that's
So
where that come from.
is there anything that you that's what I was gonna say to you, is there anything that you wouldn't publish, you say hairy fairy or, fashion. Is there
Yeah.
anything that you wouldn't publish or you wouldn't talk about, or do you talk about everything and let people make their own minds up about that?
Yeah, I kind of just let rip on it really and say it as I'd say it to as I speak. So I don't think about what words I'm going to use. It's just like this is what's in my head and this is what I'm going to say. So I could do long, really long pieces. Like I did one about the origin of the Millimila jacket, the famous goggle jacket from CP Company. That was the entire history from that right down to the production of the
That
lenses made
that
by.
that one where you have the hoods up,
Yeah,
you've got the goggles on, yeah.
yeah, so how that came about, and then even how the lenses had to be developed by an optical company, Barrafoldi, and so on and so on. And that was like a long, sort of technical piece. And sometimes I can just write a paragraph of 10 lines about
Sounds very
something.
technical, doesn't it? That
It is very technical. I think that's
yeah.
what people don't realize about certain brands. And yeah, so it's, I'd write pretty much about anything. So if I see one of these like outrageous runway shows, could be Milan Fashion Week or something,
Yeah.
the chances are I'll probably write a piece about it.
So what do you think the hardest part was, Mr. Smith? Money, um, gaining your audience, or would you say that it was getting people to take you seriously when you're writing about clubbing?
I don't care whether people take it seriously or not. I don't care how many people pick it up. I mean, a lot of people have picked it up because I've met so many people for it. And I'm not a big social media person. So our
Mm,
Instagram page has 900 people on it, where our Facebook page has 5,000 and odd, because that's the older generation kind of who pick it up more.
yeah,
And I'll just write what I think. To me, it wasn't about money because it's a website. So you can launch it
yeah,
pretty quick. And I wasn't going to
yeah,
spend anything on marketing and stuff. I was already doing blogging and write stuff for websites like with Giancarlo Ricci in Liverpool when they was open. So I was
yeah.
already involved
So
in writing in
is
fashion.
that shop still open now, or is that shop gone
And
in
unfortunate
Liverpool?
that went. Yeah, I think the flannels effect when they sort of came to town. This is what flannels do. They're a big group now. The Mike Ashley's Fraser group, and
Mm,
then basically smaller shops can't compete because Giancarlo Ricci was an independent. So bit by bit, suppliers like Stone Island and stuff stop giving them the stuff that they want, and unless you can buy X,
mm.
Y, and Z, you don't get A, B, C type of thing. So and what flannels do, like they bought up to Suti and other places, and then um, they sort of outdo all these independent shops, and then they're the only sort of shop to go to.
Go to, yeah.
But for
Then you've
certain
got the
brands,
monopoly then, haven't they,
yeah,
sort
but for
of?
certain brands like Stone Island and stuff, I wrote a few pieces on it, but it sort of really backfired on them because they were buying everything, taking everything that Stone Island made, whether it's sell or not, knowing that they couldn't really lose money. So in the end, they had that much stuff they couldn't clear the rails. So going back a couple of years ago, I was seeing things for 1,200 quid, 1,600 quid, 1,100 quid. I was thinking, they ain't going to sell it, because
Yeah.
unless Liam Gallagher's photograph wearing it, which is true, it doesn't sell
It
out.
doesn't sell.
So
Yeah.
I basically bided my time when I was playing this long game with flannels, because if there's something that you knew would sell out, you had to get it, you'd get it. But basically, they were starting to, they won't admit it, but they were losing money on things. And then what's happened with them now? Stoliner didn't like the way they were presenting their products in the store, because Stoliner are owned by Moncler now. So the what's happened with them is that they've not got the range of stuff that they used to have. But unfortunately, all the independents are gone, nearly all gone. So you're
Mm.
stuck with only them to shop
Them
with.
to shop with. So you're a very busy man, Mr. Smith. You also run a life coaching
Yeah,
program as well. So tell us a little bit about that and how did that come about? And do you think that life coaching is misunderstood in any way?
yeah, because people think it's giving people advice, and it's nothing of the sort. You don't give someone advice in life coaching. It's about empowering people, and developing a growth mindset in people, and helping people to set and achieve goals. And this is done by powerful questioning, and obviously there's a lot of training and stuff that goes behind it. So, and because it's still seen as an American thing, and it's scoffed at quite a lot. And I'm also an NLP
Because
practitioner. That's
when you do think about life coaching, you do think about Yanks, don't you? You do think about it at the
Yeah,
Americans because it's quite new here, isn't it? Life
yeah.
coaching. Because people talk about mental health. I was under the impression that it's about life coaching, like is more about mental health, but it's not, isn't it? It's got nothing
Well,
to do with
no,
that, has it?
no, and mental health is a well-being is a knock-on effect of a correct mindset. So it's all
Mhm.
derived, a lot of it, from NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. So I did a qualification in that as well, which is a lot more academic. But
Mm.
the whole ethos behind that is that you can help people change how they experience the world, so they think, feel, and act in a more empowered and positive way. So creative life harbor transformation, and to aimed at businesses basically. So all my
All
output is
right.
on LinkedIn, because there's a huge gap in the welfare and development strategy in UK companies. I know I'm from that corporate world. I'm still working it now, so I see this all the time, and it's trying to convince people this is the way forward and this is what you need to do.
What about individual life coaching? Do you do that as well?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the bread and butter work, really. So what I wanted to do differently, which the life coaching company's got built a sort of whole support ecosystem and toolkit. So
Mm.
say for instance, if we do a session on the growth mindset, or we're doing a workshop with a group, then there's a video to back that up, and these are
Yeah.
made with AI but professional cinematic quality. So there's also the support material. So when you're coaching with someone, they don't have to be distracted by taking any notes.
Yeah.
I'll send you the notes electronically. There's other things that go with this toolkit, and that's quite a groundbreaking thing, which I know I'm ahead of the curve on that. So, yeah,
Sounds
I'm
very
quite pleased where I've got
technical
to.
as well. So you know your tech as well. But just moving off that life coaching for a bit, because if you are speaking to people, if you took a step back now and looked at the UK, I know that I always go on. I've got a YouTube channel, as you know, and I'm not very political. Don't get me wrong, but I do know the state of the country right now, and I do speak to a lot of people, and I see a lot of comments on my videos.
Yeah.
So, what's your biggest concern in the UK right now? What do you think about the state of the UK first of all?
Well, security first and foremost. It's a less safe place to live in than it was 20 years ago. And I
Yeah,
grew
'cause
up in a
someone was saying to me about we used to have like a high trust society. I think
mm,
it's different now, isn't it?
well, when you got people ransacking stores, I mean, there's always been shoplifters and stuff. Shoplifters, it used to be an art form, didn't it? People would go in the shop and they'd slip a few things and they'd be off. And it's not like mobs running in shops and ragging things. And I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's the terror problem.
Mm.
The country's basically being ran into being bankrupt because they're paying out more in benefits than what they're paying, or than what they're collecting in taxes. And this is a Labour trick. Labour will do this, and then when they voted out power, the incoming party will have to put an austerity program in place. And then what happens is they spend the whole time in opposition going, cutting public services. You go, no, you bankrupted the country. I think I'm
Mm.
no lover of the Tories, don't get me wrong. David
Yeah.
Cameron and these people took over, and it was handed a note that said, there's nothing left as if it was a joke, as if it was a
Yeah, as
game.
if it was
He
fun.
used that note to campaign for the next election. He was going, happiness, nothing
Ah,
left. And then when you see the likes of Starmer and his front bench of inept ideologues, I mean, it's embarrassing that that's the best they can put together. And
yeah,
none of them are capable of doing a good job. I think years ago, politicians, whether you loathed them or whatever, they were actually quite good at being politicians. They were fairly
mm,
decent at the job they were given. And they were
yeah.
also good at handling the public. So there's only so many questions that swerve, where this lot will swerve everything.
Every question, yeah.
And they
And
just
what
come out with
about,
robotic response.
what do you think about the parties at the moment, the likes of Andy Burnham running for, the by-election that's coming
Oh,
up? And you think to yourself, and then Reform, Restore, the Greens.
yeah.
What's your take on all of that? Do you think that Rupert Lowe and Nigel Farage will one day come together, or do you think that it's the wrong time that Rupert Lowe's launched his party? And the other thing is, do you think they're splitting the vote? And where do you see us
Mm.
in 2029?
Well, starting with Burnham, he's a self-serving career politician, so he's going to, is it Makerfield, to
Yeah,
stand there thinking he's going to walk that seat, and that's going to be his way into becoming party leader and prime minister, and he's going to win the next few elections. He doesn't care about those constituents there. This is all about him.
yeah.
Chances are he'll probably lose, and whether it's to restore, reform, or even the Greens, he'll probably lose.
Hopefully. But they're
And
saying
that's
now that they're saying now that it's looking more likely that he's gonna win. But
I can't
I
see it.
done a video on it and I thought, well, vote for me, and then he just walks away and then goes to
No.
what's that all about?
I'd be shocked if people did vote for him there, and
Mm,
that would just be if there was sort of the disgruntled Labour voters going back, because he's just going there basically to use it, you know what I mean?
mm,
And um, I think Starmer's hoping that he'll lose. He's hedging his bets that he'll lose because there's no one to challenge him then, because Streeting's
yeah,
challenge fell apart. He clearly didn't have the support that he thought. And then you get to Rupert Lowe and Reform. I think that's bad because the right's always been split. So, and there was once a far right in this country, which has long since gone away, and that was the BNP, and prior to that, the National Front and stuff. And they were
mm,
always splintering off, and you lost track of which party was who and so on. And they never really gained much real traction because they don't appeal to Middle England. So
yeah,
the middle ground is where the vote's going to be won. It's not going to be won on the right or the left. And the only danger is, I think Restore quite good, and I think Rupert Lowe's quite good, but I think he seems to be targeting areas where reform is strong, and it seems to
yeah,
be almost personal. And so if he splits the vote in certain areas, neither will win, or they won't win with enough of a majority, and that's damaging. And you're letting Labour back in over
mm,
egos. I think at the moment, reform's the start. You have to get reform over the line because they're going to be much better than what we've
yeah.
currently got.
I think that they're our best choice at the moment, aren't they? But the other thing I wanted to ask you about was this, Starmer calling people that are patriotic or want the best for the country, and he calls them far right.
All
What's
right.
that all about? Apparently, I'm a far right football
Yeah.
hooligan thug.
It's an old tactic. When Farage started UKIP years ago, it was Cameron and people like that, and they were calling him racist, basically. And
Mm,
they actually, when it failed, they actually said a year or two later, it was the wrong tactic to use. It's an old tactic. It's like, it's to stop more people going along to it. Because if you've ever been to United Kingdom rally, or it wasn't called United Kingdom prior to last summer, they were
mm,
just the rallies. What you see there is people from all walks of life and backgrounds. So people from West Indian backgrounds, Asian, Oriental, Eastern European, white British, as you'd say, Scottish, English, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, and they know this. Starmer knows this. David Lammy knows this. Yvette Cooper knows this, and that scares them more than if it was a few 100,000 far right, because that's more danger to them than anything else. Because they go, these people are coming together. The working class have worked it
coming
out,
together, yeah.
basically.
And I think that they've got no time for the working class, have they?
No,
These
no,
politicians. I
no.
think as
They
and
despise the working class. People need to get this through their head truly, that they despise the working class. We're a
you
thorn
think
in
so,
their
yeah,
side. We're a
yeah.
thorn in their side, and we are everything that they are not. So to us, they're compared to the working class, they're morally bankrupt. They're morally bankrupt. They lack backbone. They lack certain types of morality that we take for granted, that we're born and bred with, and they know this. They lack it absolutely, and
Mhm.
this is why they're always being held over the barrel in some sort of scandal or something because they can't control themselves. It's
Yeah.
interesting to think about Farage. All these years they've been trying to discredit him from the days of UKIP onwards. I think he was a Tory at one time as well. They've never been able to get anything dirty on him. Oh, he took a gift of 5 million quid. That was a personal gift that someone's
Mm.
given for his own security, apparently. That's it.
Yeah.
He's not been involved in any sex scandal. He's not been involved in any drugs things. He is morally that high above them, and they know it. But going back to the working class, we are everything that they despise, and they can't understand everything. There, we are everything they'd like to be
Yeah.
courageously, morally, and they can't understand where it comes from. But what they
Yeah.
do, they go out and they say, "Labour's the party of the working man." My father was a toolmaker, toolmaker. No, he neglects to tell the fact that his father owned a large company that manufacture tools. He wasn't working on a lathe every day on a working
Yeah.
man's
That's
wage, taking his
true.
buddies
Yeah.
to work. So yeah, they hate us and we hate them.
Yeah. We certainly do. But I just wanted to. It's great talking to you, by the way. And
Likewise.
where can people find you, Mr. Smith? Clobber Magazine
Oh
and
yeah,
Life Harbour. Where can they find you?
Clobber Magazine's free, so it's just clobbermag.com. You don't need the www dots these days, so just clobbermag.com. And Life Harbour is the lifeharbour.com or Life Harbour
Okay.
Transformation. And on the Life Harbour website, there's some promo videos on there which explain what we do for business, what we do for individuals, and also about the coaching toolkit that we've got, again, which I will say is unique in the industry. So much so, it was really spiking people on LinkedIn because people said, "Oh, you can have all the toolkit in the world, but what really matters is," and I was going, "Well, all
Yeah.
that's box stuff, and I've got this toolkit." And the people are like now scrambling around trying to come. So I
Mm.
saw someone the other day has put some documents together, and he's one of these people who've commented, and he's gone, "My new coaching toolbox." And I thought that's a compliment. He's got a toolbox, but compared to mine, it's like a butty box.
And to finish on, what do you think? What's the hope for the future of the UK? Because I
Of the
know that
nation.
of the nation, yeah, of the UK. Because what I'm thinking of is that a lot of people talk about illegal immigration, and I always think, yeah, I want a border. I want people.
Yeah,
People are breaking into our country and they're getting put up in 4-star hotels.
yeah.
And it's not racist, is it? You're not a bigot. You're not a Nazi to to not want that. If that makes sense.
No, I think that the hope is, and it's more than a hope. We talk about this Overton window. This is not just in the UK. This is across Europe. People have we've had this mass immigration. It started with Tony Blair. It's excelled in the last 8 to 10 years. People have seen the effects of mass migration because there's good
Mm.
immigration and there's bad immigration. So we should be saying we want the cream of the crop from around the world.
Yeah,
So to get
yeah,
here,
I agree.
you've got to bring something special, low end, cheap labor. We can fill that ourselves. There's plenty of people who can be
Mm.
pushed off benefits into active work. Will actually have a better life.
Yeah,
And the migrant crime wave that's come, the terrorism, the rapes, the crime, the theft, and so on. People have had enough. People have had enough,
yeah,
and this shift to the right is going to continue. This is Labour and Tory know they're finished. Lib Dems were
yeah.
nothing to begin
I
with,
think so.
and once the right take power across Europe, they will never get in again. I think the Second World War gave nationalism a bad
Hopefully,
name, and I think again, goes back to them throwing names at people like racist and
yeah,
Nazi and using words like divisive and division. What will happen, and it might be bloody, it might be painful, but we will sort of prevail in this struggle. I think we will secure our borders. We will start to have mass deportations of people who shouldn't be here. And I think you'll
yeah.
see a rebirth of not just the British people, but the European people to become a
It's
power
like
once
the
again.
branding, isn't it? It's like these slogans that they bandy
Yeah.
about, say, diversity is our strength. Well, if it was our strength, they wouldn't keep having
No.
to tell us that diversity is our strength. We would see it with our own eyes, wouldn't we?
Yeah. I've always said if it'd be apparent. So there'd be no
Yeah,
need to say it. You can bet your bottom dollar that if the government continuously preach a slogan over and over again, that you can think the exact opposite because it won't be
opposite.
true.
Yeah, I'm like that. If I hear them saying anything, I always go to the opposite. If someone comes out and says something, I think, nah. I always look at the opposite of it because that's how it's got you, isn't
Of
it?
course it is.
That's where it's got you in this country.
And they had us during COVID like this, and there was a
Oh,
virus, and the virus
yeah,
was no different to any other respiratory virus that
Mm,
comes around every winter and so, and they basically programmed it, not just that our country, the entire world, into doing what
mm,
they wanted us to do. And that, I think they'll never be able to do that again. That was a big
yeah,
test for them. But I think people need to
yeah,
take heart in the fact that because Starmer, Macron, and his cronies and people in his counterparts in Germany and Belgium, they're globalists. They don't believe in borders. They don't believe in a nation state. The big first shot in the eye for them was Brexit. And although Brexit's been badly mismanaged and they've
mm,
sat in their hands and tried everything they can to say it's not worked, we've actually outperformed Germany growth wise in the last 7 years, which Germany is the powerhouse of Europe. So that's the first shot in the eye for globalization. And
mm,
all the people that they've brought in here that have committed all these crimes and terrorism stuff, that's backfired on them because
yeah,
that's hard on people. It's hard on people to go, we're not having it anymore. And it will start to collapse. You'll see the rebirth of the nation states, and you'll see Europe as Europe used to be. We used to cooperate with our European neighbours. You didn't need to be in a union with them, and this will
yeah,
come again. It could be painful, and it probably will be painful
yeah,
because there's going to be more atrocities and there's going to be more terrible things happen. And what we saw after
yeah.
Southport
I
was
always
a
say that.
microcosm of what potentially could happen, and that's what I don't want to see, but it could be.
Mm, that's what I always say. I always think it's not, and it's a terrible way to live. I was watching a
Mm,
TikTok the other day, and a young mum was on. She had a girl of 16, and she said she wants to go to the beach. And she said, "Is it too much to ask that your kids can go to the beach, on a hot day?"
yeah,
And someone was stabbed on the beach, and you think, I'd hate to, like, I've got grandchildren, and I've got a great grandson. I can't. I just My mind boggles that you'd be scared of like letting your kids
yeah,
go to the beach nowadays. It's not
yeah.
right, is it?
Well, when we were kids, child abductions and things like that were quite rare things. It'd be national
Yeah,
news, and
yeah, yeah. Of course. Now we're
you know, you,
desensitized,
you
aren't
get
we? We
these
like go, oh, someone else has been stabbed.
oh,
That's it.
you get these Gen Z kids going, "Oh, it's so much better in your day." Well, actually, yeah, we did actually go out on the summer holidays and didn't come home all day. We did actually drink
Yeah,
water out of hose pipes. And you do have a thing in Manchester when I was a kid, and like, I think the bus fare then, the standard bus fare was 10p. And on a Sunday, you could get a Sunday Rover ticket for like 20 or 30 pence. And you could ride the
yeah.
buses all day right up to 10 o'clock at night. So we'd go to Manchester Airport, then we'd go from Manchester Airport back to the city centre. And we'd do, I mean, you would do that with your kids now.
The
Put
good
them on
old
buses full of
days. Yeah.
migrants and stuff. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. I just
Mm,
wouldn't feel so. I go to work and I use public transport quite a lot because it's cheap and convenient. And I'm an
cool.
adult. I can look after myself. And I'd say I can look after myself. I'm looking over both shoulders. There's no way I'm going to put my 8-year-old kid on the bus and
Yeah.
go
On a
and play
bus
out all
better.
day.
God.
Good
Yeah.
luck with that one.
Yeah. But right, we've had half an hour, so I've had half an hour of your time. So thank you so much,
No,
Mr.
thank you.
Smith, for joining me. And I've got a little secret to tell my audience. That's me fella. So I'm sure we'll talk again, but been really interesting to let other people know your
Yeah,
perspective. And hopefully we can do this again sometime.
definitely. I'd love to. Thank you
See you
very much.
later.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.